Greetings, tabletop addicts and adventurers in recovery. I'm Stubby, and I'm joined by my co-host and partner in everything chaotic and critical, Gygis. And we're here to cover episode 4, Stoneface. We open up with the cold open, where we are presented with just Bolaire, which I think is a cool scene. I've been very curious about what we're going to see from Bolaire and where he's going to go, because he's been a character that we don't know if that mask is something that has just fused to a person's face and it's like a magical item that he had to... But we learn more that actually he's not.
Until then, he has been quite the enigma.
Yeah. Which we find him in not in Pottersfield, but in the Fray, kind of a lower end part of the city, where it's kind of a dangerous district or kind of a slums area, where he is coming to Pottersfield, a tavern in this area that he goes in, and it's just kind of, you just smell liquor and you see just a few people, but he goes back to this secret passage where there's a kind of a man there, and he says, what was it, see no evil or speak no evil?
See no evil, wasn't it? Speak no evil? Speak no evil, yes.
Speak no evil, yes. Where we actually find out, I didn't register this initially whenever I first watched this, that I thought that was just a secret code. But that's actually the name of the secret tavern, the speakeasy that they go into, is Speak No Evil.
Oh, I did not realize that. I thought that was a code as well. It's like,
I didn't realize it until whenever they talked about it in the cooldown. That's whenever they actually touched on it.
I missed that part. Well, that's neat.
Yeah, easy to miss. But we go into Speak No Evil, where we are actually presented with a kind of a weird, not weird, but like
a contrast between where you came from and then going into this, and it smells of incense.
Yeah, that, but also the contract that is being presented off to the side, that he watches this morning. At first, again, one of these where I at first thought this was her husband that had died, but it's actually a mourning daughter, mourning the death of her father, that as we know, in not just Dalmakiar, but Ahriman and Hull, there is no gods, so there is no afterlife right now, or the afterlife is a big question mark, like they like to have said in the character breakdown. So we are seeing a kind of an underground black market, whatever you want to say, dealing happening between this kind of man and this, it was a grieving mother and daughter, I believe.
Right.
But they pass over the contract that's meant to help pass their father / husband onto the afterlife, which is, again, a big question mark. So this could be a real thing, and we're finding out a little inkling of what is the truth of the afterlife, or we could be presented with a complete lie that these people are undermining a mourning mother and daughter, and like just taking their money to let them think that their father and husband are being
Right,
saved,
because
essentially.
that was my thoughts was who is this mysterious woman in these purple robes working for? She can't be just one person. There's usually many, especially if she's offering something so fancy as a vellum contract, as it is called, which for those who don't know, which I just found out, the vellum contract is animal skin, usually calf skin. So who knows what it is in this world, but that is, I mean, that's some serious stuff right there as far as a contract goes. So she has
I
to be
want to
working for
say
someone.
I want to say that the vellum part of it was probably, honestly, just Brennan
Flavor.
trying to spice up things.
I know, but I'm
Just
gonna
like we'll
read
find
into
out
it.
here in a minute, he loves his flavorful words, garrot, you know. He just
Right.
likes using words that are not commonly used. So that might be, it could be something of like the vellum is like maybe it has something to do with some type of ritual, and that's why it's on vellum. It could be that
Yeah.
it's just again
But I,
flavor, but
but I
I
would
do
think if
think
it was
that's
like a
interesting.
lowly thieves contract, he probably wouldn't go for such a word as vellum. He, do something probably a little bit more lowly.
True, true, true. But that could be part of the allure, of like it's a vellum contract, so you must be legit. But
Right.
who knows? We'll see. We'll see.
We'll
I'm sure
see.
we'll get a lot more of that with the seekers and the schemers, because I think with again how we what we find out later, I think the seekers and the schemers are going to be kind of intertwined a lot, especially at the beginning of the campaign.
Hmm.
Um, but then we get to Rulius and Calastro, or Rulius and Calastro, um, who
The
who
Mercanon.
we know, yep, who we know are the ones that were about to slice and dice up Teor. Um, they are like what I thought was gonna happen. I honestly, I figured this is what it was gonna be. Is that there's this world that's on the surface, that it's the demons have come to live beside us and things are all good and awesome, but actually what it is they have like a face value presentation that they like to give. And then in the underworld is where you get to actually see the true faces of who they are. And this is where we're getting to see Rulius and Calastro, that they aren't these like people that are working for a holy group. They are these demonic people that are doing these drugs coming out of a man's ear. The fuck?
Right.
Like what? um so that was a weird one. Um, which obviously Belair kind of, I don't say obviously, but Belair just kind of hushes them away. Which this, like, first watching this, obviously hindsight's 2020, but like first watching this, I was like, who is Belair? Like, whoa, like, is he part of the problem? And we're getting the side of like, oh, we have a mole in the group. Like, this guy is actually working for the other side. And like, this is going to be an interesting side of things. And whenever Brennan literally said that one group might kill off the other group, he was not kidding. But now, obviously, I don't think that's what's
Yeah,
going to
there's
happen.
no joke there.
But yeah, like in this scene, I was like, wow, that there might not be any joke about that.
No, I don't think
Um,
so at all. Brennan is totally ready and willing, and I think eager to start killing off players because
mhm.
he was. We'll find out later. He was rolling pretty high, and he makes a statement that as a DM, sometimes it sucks to roll such a high dice, but I'm going to be very, very honest with you. And I think he really wanted to kill him off, but we'll find out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the cooldown, he actually touched on it that was one of the options. Is that that fully could have been
Hmm.
very much worse. Which, I mean, he also said that we are in the worst possible route, but we'll get to that later.
Right.
Um, which brings us to Oberys Drime, the smuggler from the Crow Keepers, who he's kind of like a he's not in the upper ranks of the Crow Keepers, but he's working his way up, and he's trying to make like bigger plays now. And that's why he's talking to Bolair. Bolair deals in ancient magical artifacts, and he is what I am theorizing, which I think this is kind of an easy theory to make. I think most people would come to this conclusion easily. I think I'm being Captain Obvious here, but theorizing that what Belair passed off to Oberys was the box that Thiazi was giving to him, to Belair. And I believe why Oberys, I forget how he pronounced it, but whenever he opened it and saw that there was no mask in there, like we know was in there before Taisha touched the broken pieces of the mask, that's why he was angry and was like, you know what? And Oberys may have known about Bolair's mask, because then he was like, that's now mine. Thinking, he may have known part of it, thinking that the masks themselves were not alive themselves, but that they were just magical items giving the wearer amazing powers, and took off the mask from Bolair, and then
that the mask wasn't wearing the people.
Yep. And this is where, which I mean, before that, Oberys like blows smoke into his eye, into Belair's face, which we obviously know was a sleep spell, but he falls and then takes the mask off, and we're left with like just basically a decayed face. Anywhere the mask was not like that was sealed around inside had like just fully decayed. And he took that mask off, looked inside, and that's where we're cut to black. We're not cut to black, but we are like, he's cut to black for a moment because he was asleep. And whenever we come back, he comes back to looking at a dead body. And I think I mean, obviously they're specifically staying fairly vague with their descriptions. But at this point, whenever he says, you wake up and there's a dead body in front of you, I immediately knew what was going on. Like, there was no
before
question.
knowing
I think
knowing what's going on. Yeah, I agree. I was like, this has gotta be the thing.
I was like, oh, okay, we have a player character item, like a magical item player character. And I think that's just like, I've been wanting that for so long, honestly. Like, I've been wanting to see that for so long, at least in Critical Role, because we've seen, and I love how Taliesin also touches on it in the cooldown, that like we've seen Travis pick up like 3 talking swords. and like, it's always like, yeah, we always hear about what happens when the talking sword has like things to do, is like given a direction, but like, what if the sword was like allowed to live its own life? What would happen? As long as that sword wasn't like of some like evil god, like it was just some sword that just started talking one day.
But I love one of the statements that he makes in the cooldown as well too, because it's like, yeah, I really wanted to do this because I figured being like a conscious sentient object, even if you were just like disappeared somewhere, must really suck. It's like, I'm gonna do that character.
Right. And that like, I was so excited about it. Like, he is such the perfect person to have doing this type of character, this just wacky, like kind of blank slate, because he did touch on it, like, again, in the cult, like it's he's trying to learn. He's almost a child. He's like almost like 100-year-old child because he was
Right.
always given something to be pointed at, and this is the first time that he's been uh get like had no direction. He's just had to figure out on his own, and he's just kind of built this identity through being kind of a museum proprietor and or curator, not proprietor, but curator, and trying to be friends with people, but then ends up getting used again by Thiazi as a tool for his own means, which was a
Yeah.
mind-blowing moment for me, thinking like, holy crap, I thought Thiazi was like this kind of liberator type of personality that like I don't believe in people being used, and now we're seeing that he treated Bolaire like an object completely. I mean, he is,
Bolaire
but
was a runaway. He escaped from basically this enslavement that he had, freed his own mind, and was able to just kind of move on. And then you have Thiazi, who's just like, "Hey, I know what you are, and I could totally just let people know that, and you would be destroyed. So do what I say, or else." It's like, wow,
yep.
I agree with you. That is not the Thiazi that I thought.
Yeah. That was a big shocker. Um, do you have anything for this section left
I
here?
do actually.
Yeah, go
We'll
ahead.
find out later. We'll find out much later, but it is very important to note that Belair, when he wakes up, he immediately asks the DM,
Oh,
"Is there a
right.
fireplace in here?" And then we'll find out that he goes ahead and chops up his old body, burns some of the pieces, but
I believe it was the
keeps the
hands.
hands and the head and puts
Hmm.
those in a gift box. But his ability to do that with no issue is very important.
Hmm. Because I mean that shows that he's had to do it multiple times. That he knows what. I mean, obviously he's a part of society. He knows he can't just leave a dead body laying here, but he knows how to efficiently do this. He knows what needs
Yes.
to be done and how to do it, and his entire skill set, his like toolkit that he has as a warlock, is built towards kind of doing this specific task, cleanup of his victims, we'll say. Which thank you for getting that because I completely skipped over his cleanup job.
Oh no! Like
um,
once that was mentioned later on, I was like, "Oh yes, this
yeah,
makes so
and
much sense."
this was a very true Halloween episode, and I love. We'll touch on this real quick, just so we can be have it touched on and not have to talk about it again, because it comes up multiple times because we're gonna have a scene or a cast change multiple times. Of it's just a full on like uh Alex Ward, oops, all Alex Ward episode, and then Alex Ward is dressed as Thad.
Yeah. And I
Like,
love I even made a point to make a note of it too. It's this I found it hilarious how there's a good few minutes where they just kind of bully him.
yeah, it's just fully pulling his chain because
Yeah,
he's the last one
'cause-
still going through the goth phase.
yeah. So if you listen to the episode, they're just like, yeah, Alex even looks like this is the first time he's playing D&D. And then I think it's one of them. It might have been Matt. He's just like Alex looks like he's got I forgot what it was. He
It was
mentioned
yeah, we've been
cryptocurrency
doing this
and
for 3 hours, just about 3 hours, just about as many NFTs you own.
yeah,
and
that's what
then
it is.
and then Abria is just like, oh my god, you've got so much crypto.
Yeah. I was
It
like,
was
oh
great.
goodness.
Yeah. Because like the one rule was that he could not dress like himself. He had to dress like the
Yeah.
opposite of himself, which was, I mean, Thad.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Thad. Yep. But if you'd want to, we can move on from here. If you want to
Yeah.
go on to the
Let's go
next
ahead and
scene
move
here.
on.
Awesome.
All right. Moving forward, we are going to go to the House Divinos. And we are with Julian. And we witness him witnessing his father as him and Valus are both there in this almost charming moment as Primus rips the skull and spinal cord from his father's. And he gives this guttural, no! And Primus looks at him after doing this with just ease of mind. Like there's no really remorse or anything. And there's something weird about all of that. And he says, I bear your house no ill will, which I think was fantastic. And this is also where uh, I forget who said it. I think it was Obria and probably no, maybe. But they called it the terms and are these the terms and conditions? As he's talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
how, yeah, how Brennan is talking about how I'm just going to let you know, because you're my friends and we're playing a game. This world is not balanced. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm assuming what that means is you guys are level 2 and 3, somewhere around there. This guy might be like level 10, level 12.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. This is not balanced right now.
Well, like, so think of this as how The Witcher 3 is built out. How you could go down the path and try to clear out area by area, but you're going to be a level 3 person going up against a level 11, 12, 13, maybe level max.
Bad idea.
And you want to probably think of things strategically, and if not, sometimes, sorry, you just got unlucky. You walked into the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm sorry. And that's just what it is. And this could have been one of those times that it was like, I'm sorry, this was meant to go kind of a different way, which we actually do find out in the cold, or not the cold open, in the cooldown. I keep saying cold open, but meaning cooldown. Um, we find out that Octus could have died in this scene here at some point. He could have fully died. Like, I mean, not come back. He could have been later referenced kind of down the line, but not as a true character. And it just depended on the decisions that Octus made and that the group made. And I think I forget exactly what they said, but the conversation between Brennan and Alex kind of was basically like, I'm okay if he dies. Like, if he dies, it's okay. I'll just do a different character. And that if I, because like he originally was like, I want to play a revenant, which means he wants to die and come back because of a vengeance. So then, which I mean, they could tweak
And
that
be
in any
hollow.
way they want to. Do what?
And he would be basically a hollow wizard.
Yeah. But he was going to play a rogue as well on top of that. It was going to be a rogue wizard blended class. I don't know exactly how he was going to play that one out, but it was going to be interesting, which I think he's still kind of going to do now, because I think this is the Revenant run. I think this is where he is a Revenant because he doesn't have a heart. He is technically dead still. So I think he's playing a Revenant now. Is what it is.
I think he is, yeah.
I think what's going to happen is once the House of Trachonis comes down, once he kills his father and all Ephraim, or yeah, is it Ephraim or Ethrend, close, not Ephraim, Ethrend. That's my bad.
Ethrend, yeah, Ethrend.
Yeah, I think whenever he kills those two, or at least Ethrend for sure, he will then die. I think he will then cease to exist, because that is what reverents do. And they kill anyone in their path, but they like that is like trying to stop them from trying to complete their goal. But once they complete their goal, they cease to exist. So I'm wondering what this is going to turn into. I'm curious.
I'm very curious about that as well. So we have, and maybe I'm jumping ahead. We have Ethrend Taconis leading ghouls into where Octus and Lady Aranessa are.
Yeah.
And
which I think how that plays out is they knock on the door, playing it nice and sly, and then she answers it and gets just like Sparta kicked in the chest.
Oh yes, immediately as she opens the door, a ghoul kicks her and knocks her prone. And then right after that, uh, there is a silence spell. Yes, yeah, yeah. There's a silence spell that Ethryn casts so that no one can hear anything, but he's able to mouth what he wants to control these ghouls, and they're connected, so they are able to do it. So they bring out this garrote, and as you have put it, Octus is garroted and thrown onto a table. So it's this wire that they pull out and put it around his neck. And from what I pictured, it was actually because it was head to head. So I don't know if the ghoul came and just like almost borderline suplexed him or just like pulled him down and just fell down. The way they put it, their heads were together.
I think what it was the ghoul was shorter, and what it did was it jumped behind him onto the table and grabbed it like this from behind and pulled his head to the like back of head to back of head, and then sat down because he did say sit.
Yeah,
he sat.
Yeah,
so that's how I imagined it. At least I could be wrong. You could be completely right, where he just kind of grabbed and fell back. But I imagined it as he like jumped, like here's Octus, jumped behind him like this, grabbed him and fell backwards this way to where they were back of head to back of head. If that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, again, up to interpretation whenever it comes to D&D. Whatever was in Brennan's head is kind of what was true, but I would pay $1 million to crack that brain open to get to just kind of see what he's doing, you know.
Oh, but, we probably couldn't handle it. But no. So he's got the garrote, takes him down, and then while Octus is struggling, he's being choked, and so he puts up 2 fingers and just makes just enough to where he can vocalize, and he does a spell with no vocal component at Ethryn, which is Mind Spike. He draws this green sigil that turns into this purple light and then casts right at him. Like a bolt. But unfortunately, Ethryn can completely just block that. So Ethryn, he mouths the words. Silence is still casted, but he mouths the words, "Not yours." And I'm curious as to what that means. Do you have any thoughts?
I have racked my brain and I have no clue. Not yours. Maybe the power is not yours. Because he did try to cast a spell at Ethryn. So I would think maybe Ethryn knows, obviously, that happened. So he would say because that casting failed, he's saying the power's not yours. The magic is not yours. Stop trying. You've always been a failure to our family, because it seems that their family is a bloodline sorcerer family, where it's passed down in the bloodline that their grandfather was a sorcerer and blah 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 blah, which I actually will get into when we get into our theories later. But he's the only one in the family that didn't get the sorcerer gene, we'll call it.
Right.
And he didn't have magic, so he had to get magic in a different way with wizardry, which you're using basically the natural magic that rests within all things to create magic, because usually you're using components or the magic of words or whatever it is. And I think Ethryn is kind of making that remark as the power that you wield, it's not yours. You don't wield it, I think that's kind of what he was going.
I could see that. This power is not yours. Yeah.
But he could be referencing something we have no clue of and only Octus knows.
Yeah, I'm
That could be
wondering
it.
that same thing as well. So then Ethrend, he pulls out a curved knife, and this is his brother, which is such a pivotal moment here because I think even Octus was like, I know my family might hate me, but I did not expect them to just want to absolutely just gut me. So Ethan pulls out a curved a knife, brings him
This is
down to
not
one
nice.
health. This is not nice. And then plunges the knife into his stomach and saws up to the navel, as was so eloquently said.
Oh yeah.
And I have the quote right here. And when he does that, his brother sawing through his body, cutting his organs open right through the navel. He says, "Traitor, you should have welcomed the name alone as a gift, energy, even though there has always been something wrong with you." And that is something that I have thought about is always been something wrong with you is that the fact that he is a wizard, not a sorcerer.
I think it's just he
But I
didn't
mean,
have the passed down power.
yeah.
I believe. I
And
believe.
yeah, and I think it was talked about before about, or maybe it's talked about in this episode. Remind me if I'm getting too ahead of myself about what pincushion, how pincushion came to be.
Are you talking about
The fox.
the yeah, well, yeah, but are you talking about it being the spell that made pincushion? Are you talking about
How it was supposed to be like this, this powerful creature that could be, that
that
we could be used
that.
for attack, but it ended up being this just soft, cuddly thing that was his companion. So I think that was
Right, right.
also part of it, like not the traitor part, but the kind of the failure part of it.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, yeah, and I thought you were talking about how the creators of D&D homebrewed a spell for him. Uh
Right.
and it was
No, not quite.
yeah, summon undead creature or something like that, and it was like he could summon like an
Yeah.
undead little animal, and that's all he could summon.
Yeah, because they go through that in the cooldown, right?
Yeah, or cooldown
Yeah, I
or
think that's
the
what,
character breakdown, one of the two.
or maybe both. But after that, after hearing those words, there's always been something wrong with you. Ethren takes his hand while holding the nightstone. I believe it's Ethren.
Yeah, this
Plunges
stone
it
of ice on.
into him, going through his organs, finding his heart, laying the nightstone down, taking the heart and ripping that out. And as he does that, Octus tries to hold on as much as he can, but when he fades, so does Pincushion.
Yep.
And that puts us outside where Taisha is. And Taisha sees Pin crumble, and that has to be an oh fuck moment for her. Because this is not a biological son, but this is a son to her.
Well, with that, before that even happens, she comes in through the gate that Valus had left open, and something that I just wanted to touch on briefly before we continued on was that, uh, most of the druids have a way of speaking through nature and stuff like that. It's typically nature. I want to make a key note that she specifically talks about the creak of metals, or what she talks through,
Oh, yes.
and that is a very like key thing to keep note of her subclass, because we have not, I don't believe, as far as I've known, we don't know what her subclass is yet, which I believe is like Circle of the Forge or Circle of something like that, the Circle of Ore, the circle, something of that nature, of where it's like taking the raw materials of earth and bending it to your will to make it into what you want, and the reverse decay of that. And I think that's why whenever later she bursts out like a bloated corpse out of the wolf, I think
Right.
that kind of is also another thing that she's trying to make little droplets, little breadcrumbs for us to find her subclass at the moment. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick because I thought that was a beautiful way to give us little hints of lore without
Hmm.
just dropping straight information on our laps.
Right. And let me know if I'm getting too detailed on this, but
No,
so with
totally.
Octus taking a lethal amount of damage, like this is not, he is not unconscious. He has taken a lethal amount of damage. He forgoes
Doubled his
his saving
HP.
throws. He is dead. He is dead, dead.
Yep.
And we are not, you know, level 20, anyone who can just be like, well, I can just bring it back.
Right, right.
So we've got Taisha in her wolf form, noticing because she's trying to find him. She is in a panic. She's trying to find him, and she's using her basic wolf instincts, so she can smell the blood. She can hear the muffled sounds. She notices a balcony that is lit up, and hears this loud screech as I believe it's Aranessa that bites
Mm-hmm.
down on a ghoul's hand as the ghoul's reaching for her because Aranessa is a badass.
Oh yeah.
And as she totally dodges an attack opportunity from Primus, Aranessa does because she's bolting off. She's saying nothing matters, nothing exists. So even though she's here with some bad dudes, correct me if I'm wrong, I think she was with Primus at this moment. Yeah.
Who? Aranessa?
No. Taisha.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, Taisha's with Primus at this moment. So she's just saying, "Screw it. I don't care about the attack of opportunity." Runs, but she makes it. Totally dodges it, and so
Which
she's on her way.
imagine if that was. Sorry to interrupt, but imagine
Go
if
for it.
that was a the other like a fail. Like he did hit her, and it was enough to like kill
Skull rip.
or not kill, but at least yeah. Like that would be wild. Like we may have
Yeah.
had a different ending to this story here.
Given the branches, just to go on a tangent right now, given the branches of different opportunities between three different tables and basically three campaigns all in one, yeah, like we said earlier, I would like to crack open Brennan's mind and just kind of see if I could possibly ever absorb everything or anything. I mean,
Yeah,
there is
anything.
a
I mean,
lot going
I
on
think it
there.
would be like Edward Elric opening up the gate to knowledge in Full
Right.
Metal. Just
So at that moment, Primus, I don't know what spell or something he does, but he disappears into the shadow and then reappears behind the fountain and then casts Circle of Death.
So I think that was an ability. A lot of times, whenever you deal with necromancy and stuff, you have well, especially whenever it's like the subclass of the character is based around necromancy and dark magic. Typically, they have some type of like misty step variant where they're able to step into a shadow over here, and in a if they're able to see a shadow within a certain range, like 60 to 100 feet, something like that, then they're able to then appear from that shadow. And that's probably what it was just a subclass feature more than likely.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so after he casts the Circle of Death, it's Tyson and Julian. They're able to survive. It kind of sounded like everyone else in that area, your vassals, your retainers,
Guards,
your
everybody.
everyone, they can't survive that. They're commoners. They're all dead. It kills everyone. Like this place is becoming a spook house. And so
Oh,
as he ends the
literally.
spell,
Literally.
literally. So as he ends the spell, you can see the black wax is dripping down his hand from that candle, which we don't know anything about yet at the moment. All we know is that it is a component to some grand spell, ritual, or something. And I think it was Taisha that goes up to him and looks Primus in the eye because she runs up to him and gets close and looks at him. And she goes, how something like along the lines of like, how could you kill your own son? And then he has some words, but I remember him saying, I don't know if he can be called a son.
Well, I don't think she like ran up into her, like looked him in the face. I think it was just like from
Well,
like
I don't think she got too
melee
close,
range
but she
with.
got close enough to talk to him.
Right. But yeah. And it was like I don't think you can call him a son because I think again, just like these royal families, it powers everything. If you don't hold the same power as them, then you're not one of them.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean, he just sounds like a dick.
I mean, I will say, not condoning what's happened here tonight on
Right.
air, but I will say they Octus kind of asked for it. He has betrayed his family. They wanted Thiazi dead, and if they can find, if they have proof, I mean, honestly, even if they don't have proof, if they just have hearsay that one of their own had a dealing with saving the person that they wanted dead. Furthermore, they had proof that I mean, they probably had proof that they were at least friendly because we know that Octus was saved by Thiazi whenever he was a kid. So I'm sure there's some sort of proof of at least that there. So there's that. Um,
Right.
Back in those times, uh, treason was death. And I'm not saying that I condone what they are doing here, but it is like, I mean, it is within reasoning that this should happen. Because that's what normally would. I'm not surprised. Is more what I'm saying. I'm not condoning it, but I'm not surprised. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
why is
I'm
he?
not surprised either. It definitely makes sense.
You know, like he's acting all surprised. Like, I didn't know my family wanted me dead. It's like, dude, come on, you betrayed them. Are you? How
Yeah.
are you surprised? Your family deals with death, and you betrayed them. Come on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's like an eye for an eye at that point, and your family kind of sucks.
yeah. So I mean, it just kind of makes sense. So I was very surprised when everyone else was surprised. But I also like that was my reaction first watch through. Obviously, in the the cool down.
Yeah.
We get more information that he didn't get a whole lot of information on how bad his family actually was. He just knew little details. So that then kind of makes it make sense. But like first watch through, you're like, how does that not make sense? Like, you betrayed your family, bro.
Well,
What else were they
he
gonna
does
do?
seem so just like soft,
Soft and
kind of innocent, maybe even a little bit naive.
yeah, until the cooldown, and you find out he's wanting to experiment on his own dead body because he just cuz
Yeah, yeah, I think
he's a
he's
little
definitely
demented.
drawn. He's drawn to the necromancy for sure. Because I love how even when they're talking about pincushion, he's just like, "Well, I just found a dead fox, and I found some other animals, and I cut them up, and I pieced them together. No biggie."
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, a little weird,
All
a
right,
little weird. But like
but all
even
right,
at that point, it's like I can get down with this. But it's like you start getting past it, and it's like, oh, he wants to. It's like it sounds like he wants to cut himself. That's a little weird.
yeah, it's just like, man, you're so sweet. And he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about hacking off my arm and replacing it with maybe someone else's, or maybe even a fox. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe I'll do a shark head so I can go. Nom, nom, nom. Like what? I mean, that's my own demented mind, but still.
No, no, that would actually kind of cool. Okay, so when all of this happens, and I did want to say one thing because it's in your notes, and I think it's a cool line. Before Primus even cast the Circle of Death and wiped everyone, he goes, "Tonight, Divinos, Royce, and all their vassal houses end." And then he casts the Circle of Death, and then we have just this mayhem. And it's hard, you have to do the theater of the mind, but just to think, you are in like, it's like nighttime, and you're in this huge estate area. And once he does this, you're slowly seeing everyone around you just reek in agony. this is a huge moment right here. This is truly a disaster.
Mhm.
And not only that, we've spoken of that this glass-like barrier that some can
This
see specters. The hundreds of these ghostly forms, kind of just here. That breaks all of a sudden, or at least part of it does. And now
right.
we have the undead flowing in. So not only is everyone dying around you, now you have the undead flooding in. I mean, this is just an absolute massacre.
Mayhem. And what I think this is that so I think what happened was he lights the candle, and I think what it is like mechanically, as far as like D&D mechanics go, I think what this was it was a light the candle, and in one turn this spell will proc off. Whatever that spell is, I don't know. I mean, it could be some like just a massive summon specters or something like that. But I think I think he did that so then he could also cast his Circle of Death, and then as soon as the Circle of Death is going off, all of the specters rain in to wreak havoc. So just mechanics wise, I think that's kind of how that played out.
Yeah, well, I could definitely
But
see
yeah,
that.
cinematically, I think this is a crazy scene. It went
Yes, for
hardcore
sure.
goth for this episode.
Yeah, they really did. Hardcore Gothland. Um, so with all of that happening, now we go upstairs, and we've got Aranessa, who is breaking free from a ghoul, barely avoiding being poisoned or paralyzed.
Paralyzed, yeah.
And then she runs down the hall and calls for the guards. And I forget, where was Valus? Valus
He's
has
been
at some
downstairs,
point
yeah.
Valus at some point makes her way. Yeah, she sees Pincushion and knows something is terribly wrong. She makes her way up after casting Guiding Bolt on Primus, right?
Yeah, so she casts Guiding Bolt on
Yeah,
Primus
rushes in
and
and
then
yeah, and
rushes
smites
him.
Primus with Guiding
And
Bolt.
that's where she notices that she can do double damage with her radiant stuff.
Yes, yes, and then also we we notice that Primus has like this mist trail when he moves, so he's only partially in like this plane. Other than that, which is just a cool thing to know, Lady Aranessa, here's a cackling from some Taconis. I don't know if it said exactly where or who this was, but I
I'm
think
not
that
super sure.
this goes into one of the possible outcomes that Brennan was talking about because this Taconis says, "I hear there's a great view from the balcony." Uh, yeah, referencing the cooldown possible outcome. And then we go back to Taisha, still in wolf form. She continues towards the cackling. She comes to the hallway, and she sees Ethrin and three ghouls. I think beside him, one behind him, and he in his hand has a heart, which she as a wolf is able to just sense. Like, I know what kind of meat that is. That's a heart, and it's dripping blood. And this is where Ethrin sees her and grins and is ready for a fight. But unfortunately, because that would have been a really cool fight, we've got Primus downstairs calling for Ethrin. Do you have it? And then Ethrin responds in the affirmative. But it talks about how he looked cowed. He looked possibly maybe afraid after that, being
Which I mean
called to Primus.
makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense to me.
yeah. So I kind of look at that as okay, he retreats to his father. Then we come back to Julian, who in this feral moment gives this really bestial Troy-like uh, um, leap
Strike.
stab to
Yeah.
Primus. Natural 20. And with that natural 20, and I like the way Brennan's, kind of prefaces this, is this any normal man, this would have killed them. Uh, but it doesn't work on Primus for kind of reasons unknown. And maybe you have a
I think
theory
this
on
is
that?
just, I think this is just purely flavoring why he wasn't able to kill Primus, and this is just Primus is probably like a level 15 character. He probably
Right, very
has
strong.
he probably has close to like I don't know like 150ish health.
Like
They're
he is not
not
a
gonna kill him.
normal man.
He's
Normal
not a
man would
normal
have
man.
died, not
Yeah.
Primus.
I think that's
And
mainly
then,
what he was saying is like he is mortal, like you could kill him. Like I'm not going to lie to you and tell you he is a god, but
oh
like
well,
it's
yeah,
not
we'll get
likely.
into that too.
Yeah, it's not likely
Uh,
that you're going to kill him.
yeah. So an interesting thing is after that, Primus looks at Julian and he says something along the lines of Oblivion. You said Oblivion. You are threatening me with sending me home. So I thought that was interesting. And then, real quick, this ties in. I want to talk about this, but this ties in
Yeah.
because Julian looks right at Primus and he has tears in his eyes and he's showing emotion. Um, and I forget what he says, but Primus, he merely just cocks his head, almost unknowing to what this emotion is. And I thought that was very interesting because it makes me wonder, is this Primus?
What do you mean?
Well, we've got him talking about Oblivion, and then you threatening me with sending me home. And then when Julian finally shows this emotion, tears in his eyes, it said that he cocks his head kind of unknowingly. Like I don't know what this is. What's happening? Sort of deal. That's how I read it. And that makes me think like, is this truly Primus anymore? Is this something else?
I think it is Primus because you have to think later on whenever Primus, who we think is Primus's father, um, literally refers to him as Primus, you fool. Um, I do think this is Primus. I think what it is Primus just doesn't understand these emotions because he does not feel these types of emotions for people. You are either useful or you are beneath him. And even if you're useful, you're still probably beneath him.
Beneath him, yeah,
And
I
and
can
and
see that.
that's just how he is as a character. So I think that's what that stems from. And the Oblivion thing, their home is halfway between wherever here is, like we said last episode, whatever here means, because we don't know what here is, if it's Delmakiar, if it's Aramon, whatever that means. Um, halfway between, they live halfway between here and after and the afterlife or the
It's kind of like
underworld.
a one foot in the door sort of thing.
Yeah, so like you're saying send me home? Okay. What's
Good
that
threat.
supposed to like good threat, bro? Who cares? I'm about to go there right now. Which
Well,
leads
that
us
makes
into
sense.
which actually leads us into this next
Well,
part of like
yeah. Well,
deuces bitch.
as Primus is walking away, that's where we get this very good roll. And Julian is observing him, and he's able to ask his on that natural 20 that he had. He's able to ask one question about Primus, and so he asks, "Can he be killed?" And so he watches the gate of the way he walks and all of this, and we know that he is not a god, and that he can be killed. Now we don't really know any more than that, but hey, at least we know that he's not a god, I guess. We also know, which is a really cool mechanic,
Yep, yep.
that from now on, Julian, anytime that he fights or attacks a Primus, when he's 50% health or below, he is going to attack with advantage.
You get all of his attacks, yep, get advantage. Which, I
Yeah.
mean, that can get crazy because this Primus could be our. He could be our end game boss. He could be our mid game boss. He could be our beginning of campaign boss. He could be like where like they could fight
Mhm.
Primus at level like 8, you know? And that's whenever they fight him. Or it could be level 15. Who knows? But I imagine I like the world that Primus is meant for the end game, that we don't get him until the very, very end, and that we're going to get a maxed out Julian with this ability versus Primus. I think that would be
I
pretty
think that
cool,
would be kind of poetic almost.
but I would be surprised if that's what we get. I would honestly. I think he's more set up to be a mid campaign boss or a early campaign boss,
Yeah,
kind
if we
of
go
like
back to
the
campaign
Briar
one,
Woods.
the Briarwoods. Yep. There we go. Hey, great minds think alike.
Yep, I think that's what we're looking at is a Briar Woods situation where it's not gonna be right up at the beginning, but maybe around level 10ish, maybe a little before.
Yeah, we'll come back to it, and then
Yeah,
let's hope we don't have a Lady Briarwood.
yeah, for real.
um, so moving on from there, in my notes, I put down the Onyx Ring. Was that what he used to teleport,
Teleport.
or what did he
I
do with
think
the
that is
Onyx? Yeah, he
his.
teleported.
I want to say that's like a homing ring, to where like he can kind of activate it, and then he and whatever he touches will then teleport to
Because
wherever.
I think as he activated the Onyx Ring and probably teleported to Octus's bot. No, he wasn't
No,
there. Wherever he
to
went.
I think it was he teleported. He either teleported to Ethrend or Ethrend teleported to him. I can't remember, but
One
they
of the two
teleported
went to
to each other and then teleported
right.
out.
And then as that Onyx Ring was activated, uh, I guess I think what it was either another piece of glass, the glass-like barrier was broken, and now we have shades coming in as well. So we've got ghouls downstairs, or shades downstairs, ghouls upstairs. It's pretty much kind of the
Uh,
dynamic it looks like we
the
have.
ghouls were left behind by Ethrend. Those were the ones that were holding
And so we have the
down
shades
Octus.
coming from through the barrier,
Mhm, mhm.
or at least now, yeah, after the Onyx Ring.
Or that's how
Cool.
I understood it, at least.
Something like that. And
Right, right.
then and then going back up above, we've got Aranessa, who casts Entanglement
And
on
fails
both
the.
herself and Octus, and chooses to fail the saving throw so that
Well,
she is held in place.
she casts it on the air, like basically the entire room, and it's just up to whoever is in that area to either succeed or fail the saving throw. And
Right,
she
right,
just
right.
auto failed, and then some of the ghouls failed, some of them didn't fail.
Yeah, and then now they're trying to like move these bodies that are purposely entangled. Um, and then we flip from there. We go back to Julian and Valus, and they're fighting off the shades. Um, Haisha is hit by one of the shades, I believe, and loses her wolf form.
Yes, she gets hit by one of the shades and it drops her down to 0. And this is one of the things I don't like about 2024 D&D is that uh, druids, whenever they turn wild shape, they keep their health. So then whenever they drop to 0, it's true 0. Used to, whenever you wild shaped, you would wild shape into an animal. That animal, you would take over its health. Whenever that health dropped to 0, you would revert back to your original health, whatever it was before you wild shaped. I
And
like
then
that
whatever
much better.
was stacked afterwards. So like if back then, if you were a wolf and you had 12 health and someone hit you for 14, you'd lose the wolf form and then take 2 points of damage, right?
I can't remember specifically. You might be right about that. But either way, it would have been a much better situation for her. Instead, she's just been taking damage, having the armor class of a wolf with the health that she has. So she was just getting, like, used to druids were a decent tank class where you could be fairly tanky as a druid. Now it's like, your armor class can be okay, but your health is always going to be fairly mild.
Interesting.
We're used to, they had a little bit more of a buffer. So that's one of the things that I just, I'm not a huge fan of on 2024.
I mean, it's
But
something. But
it's something.
moving on from there, well, unless you still go, my bad.
Nope, go ahead. Go ahead.
Moving on from there, one cool thing is these shades. They hunger for like a life essence, and so they go for Valus and they try to suck this life out of her, but she's immortal. So they fail. They don't get anything. So we find out that Valus is immune to the ability decrease,
Yep,
which is
she's
very cool. Um, but shortly after that, she feels this chill as she's around all of this death.
Yep.
And she has this thought and coldness. And this is something I was wondering about, and maybe you can clear this up, or maybe I'm just missing something or what. But she says, "Is that what she felt when she died?" And I'm thinking, who is she? Who is she that
Salandri.
she's talking about?
Salandri.
Salandri?
Yeah, the shaper of the elves. See, this is
That's
where
cool.
I'll go ahead and throw this theory out there just to get it out of the way. I don't think all the shapers were bad. I think only some of the shapers were bad, and that maybe only a few of them were. Maybe only the God of War was really that bad. The orcish shaper. Maybe he was really the one that was awful. He was forcing his people to praise him and worship him and do all these things, and maybe some of the mortals were tired of that and killed him and decided to cut the problem at the root, like nip it in the bud, and just killed off all of them. And maybe not all of the gods were so bad. Maybe not all the shapers were awful. And I think this is one of them, is Salandri. And I think proof of that is Valus herself and the sisters of Salandri. If she has a following that loves her so devoutly, how could she have been so terrible?
Right.
How could have her closest followers not see that she was, So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I wouldn't think that all, like, what is it, 9 gods?
yeah, I think it was the 9 shapers.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't imagine that every single one of them would be just that hated by. I think it's just mob mentality and then corruption.
I agree. I think this actually goes into one of my other theories, that I think Thiazi may have had a hinting of this. I think because almost everyone we know in the story, other than Bolaire and Valus, all of them were born well after the Shapers' War was over.
Mm.
And maybe what happened was, maybe not well after the Shapers' War was over, but after the Shapers' War was over, maybe what we have a case of is the winners of a war tell the history and write the history books.
Right.
And we may have a case of whoever started the Shapers' War against the Shapers, and whenever they won, they wrote the history books to say that all the Shapers were bad and that they needed to go, and that we were rightful in killing them because we needed to watch out for ourselves. And I think this may not have been exactly true. I think maybe they believed that they needed to do these things, and it may not have been the right option, as they were maybe killing off good gods that were watching over their people and being good and caring. And so I think Salandri was one of those, and I think that's what Valus's grand mission really is, and that's why she's taken such a liking to Octus, is that Octus has found a way to resurrect something whilst also um keeping its care and love and everything. Um
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
so I mean if you want to we can move on to
We'll
the
move
more
on to
what's
kind of Taisha and her interactions with Octus and how that goes.
yeah, we can move on to that little scene there as well.
All right. One thing I wanted to mention was Valus and Taisha are separate from each other at this point in time. You know, as we're seeing Ethrend um, and Primus, they're doing the thing with all this death, all this tragedy. We hear, or they hear, Valus and Taisha, they both hear the Nightingale song, which I think was something very interesting. I think Taisha, no, who heard it first? Well, it's probably happened at the same time, but just in kind of the order of how it played out in the podcast. But I found it
I
very interesting that
think
they heard the Nightingale song, both of them specifically, and no
I
one
want
else
to
heard it.
I want to say it played out simultaneously because I
I
want
would
to
say
say
so.
that it was supposed to be like at the same time they heard it. It wasn't meant to be like a one heard it than the other.
Yeah, yeah. So they both heard the same Nightingale song, but it was only just those two that heard it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe no one else heard it. It was just them,
Yeah, I think it was just them.
which I found very interesting. I feel like that's going to lead into something later as well too. Um, then we move on, and we at this point, Ethrin and Primus they have met up, and Primus with his bloody hand, or well, I guess it's Ethrin with the bloody hand holding the heart. They managed to plane shift away, and now they're just gone. And this is leading into a very terrible thing. Um, and at this time, Aranessa calls out, and she is asking for help, you know. And as she calls out, she also readies a spell, um, which we'll find out a little bit later. But as she calls out, there are specters, which they said beyond the glass, so this glass like barrier. Beyond the glass, there are specters that are not the ones that are part of this realm already. They are still there beyond the glass. They cover their faces and flee in terror. And at that moment, also, nightingales fly out, which we now know are fairies of the dead,
Mm-hmm.
which is such an interesting thing because the Fey realm, the fairy realm, it's about life and abundancy
Not death,
and not,
not the end.
and not death. But we have these nightingales that we know of that Brennan said are fairies of the dead, and I think that is just amazing. And then after that, Julian runs in because he is desperately looking for Aranessa. And as he goes towards her, that readied spell was haste. And
Haste on
now,
a martial class is broken.
right, and now Julian is hasted, and we are going to witness the beauty of that very soon. Um, Shortly after that, Taisha is knocked unconscious, I believe, just by
I believe a shade.
a yeah, by a shade. She, there's been some really good rules. There's been some really bad rules. Taisha is knocked unconscious and critical fails her death saving throw, which is now two death saving throws. And in
Or two
this
fails.
edge, yeah, two fails. In this edge of death, she sees Octus's spirit walking toward the path. And in my head, I was looking at this like this woodland area, peaceful, wooded. She calls out to him, and I think she said, "Go back," but then later on, I think it's read as "come back," like "come back, come back."
Right.
I think she actually yelled out "go back," but um,
I
and
think she
he
also
hears
yells
this.
out like "not yet" as well.
Yeah, not yet, not yet. And then he hears this, and now he's kind of in this confuddled conundrum of confusing commands. There's your alliteration there. And this bloodied hand comes out behind him and rests on his shoulder and gives him a command as well to come home, you traitorous whelp. So there's a bit of back and forth there. We leave that. We go back to Taisha, where Aranessa has bolted towards her and does a what was it?
Healing
Lay on
words, lay
hand.
on hands, one of the two. I think it was
One of the
healing word.
two, probably healing word, something like that. But she heals Taisha, and so that brings Taisha back to consciousness. When she does that, Taisha disappears from Octus's consciousness.
Yeah, from
That
like
where he's at right now,
the in between plane, we'll call it.
kind of this
The not
limbo that
here,
he's
not
in right
there.
now. Yeah. So this limbo that Octus is in right now, Taisha disappears. And now he's almost utterly alone, other than this anti-guiding force that wants to bring him to something that he doesn't want. Um, Octus, he refuses. There are some words said. One of the biggest ones is, "I don't belong to you." So then he starts to reach into himself and start to stitch himself back together like he's sewing. And he does that for a little while as I think I think by this time as he's sewing it, maybe I'm jumping ahead. Um Pincushion, his snout pokes out, and then just his almost disembodied head is there, and then looks up at him.
Well, what happens is the Stone of Night song, its wings flutter out,
Oh, the
popping
wings,
out,
yeah.
keeping him from doing it, and then the head of Pincushion pops out as well. Um Covering up the wings. So then he like what you'll explain is that he has to go around Pincushion and all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which I think this was
Absolutely.
all very metaphorical, because they talk about it in the cooldown that depending on what he did here would have changed everything.
Everything. So we move on from there and we go back to Taisha again. She has now finally, out of her wolf form, reached Octus in his gored, organ splaying, state. And please remind me if you know what word she said, but there, in my notes, I have when she spoke the word path, something happened.
Are you talking about um Aranessa?
No, this was Taisha, I believe, if I'm not incorrect, but I believe Taisha
Or are you
was like
talking about
reaching out to him. Yeah.
I don't know if she said I don't remember what she said there. I know um she casted like plant growth to
No,
make
this is
it harder
Before
terrain.
this, this is just maybe I'm getting way too detailed, but Taisha mentioned something. and she talks about how he needs to go away from the path, like because now at this point we know that he is he will never be able to go on that path again. And she talks about a path. I don't remember exactly what they said, but when she mentions that, he's able to, he kind of like recognizes what she's saying, even from where he's at right now in kind of this undeath, death, um, uh, limbo sort of state. And just going along with how the podcast goes, just following that order, that triggers something. Then we move on to Aranessa, who does druidcraft this little sapling without really telling anyone why. She just does it quickly.
And starts making
She
like a little
knows
tree.
what's about to happen. She makes this little tree out of some wood that she found. Then we go back to Octus, who is defying them, saying, "Come back home, you traitorous whelp." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I belong with these people." So he has three options. He rolls a 15. He was given three options, and out of 15, he's only able to take one. One was to he feels something moving in him. He feels something very still in him. I forget what the other one was, if you remember.
I don't remember. I think basically, I think what the three options were was basically take Pincushion out, take
Oh yes,
the
yeah,
Stone
you're
of
right.
Night Song out, or close it all up.
Yeah, and so
I think that's
he
the three
decides.
options he had.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the other one was to remove pincushion and see if the rest of him is in there. He decides to go for the thing that is still
Still,
inside of me, and so he reaches in and he manages to tear out the Nightstone out of his body. This black rock, this winged black rock, and you hear now I don't know who's yelling. I don't know if it's Primus or if it's Primus's father, but it is a desperate, like, no, no, no.
I want to say that was probably Primus's father because he was kind of taking lead at that point. Because I think
Right, I think so.
Primus is the second in command here, I believe, while Primus's father is probably the first in command. And
Right.
which that whenever we brought in Primus's father, that's where a lot of dots started to connect for me that like, oh, that's why he's here. Cuz why
Yeah.
would the leader come to do it? A leader of a royal house doesn't dirty his own hands with this stuff. He sends someone
Right.
else. And that makes sense. He's not the leader. His father is the true leader. He might
Right.
be the like public head of the family, but he is not the true
Yeah.
head of the family. But
Backtracking just a bit, there was also a point when Octus was kind of brought that awareness. It was said that his soul was kind of split into two. Moving forward from that, when he pulls the Nightstone out of his body successfully, I don't know if part of him that split, I don't know if that was mended and he's in the woods, kind of in this state that he's in, or if that part was left behind and that's where we get the Revenant, and then the other part was in the woods before, you know, and then this is all before he's like has that breath of life again, which we'll come into. That's just an interesting thing to me. But as he does go back into those woods and he's there, and you know, he's conscious of like, okay, I have this thing. Nightingales fly by yet again. These fairies of the dead, which I find that so interesting.
yeah, I think this is again, I think the fairies of the dead, this could be more of a sign of like the control of that the Draconuses have right now, that their control over the dead has now seeped over into the Fae. I think
Yeah,
that's what
I
that
think so too.
might be. I could be. I mean, I could be
Slightly
wrong again.
metaphorical.
Right. It could be again. It could just be purely metaphorical. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but again, we take our swings at anything here.
yes, we do.
We're gonna see
Uh, so
what sticks.
so shortly after that, um, Taisha, witnessing everything going on, being with Octus, or not yet anyway. Or no, Taisha's there already. Taisha casts Speak with Plants. And this one is really interesting, as we said earlier, because it is the plant matter, the wood, the stone, the earth, also the metal. And then and feel free to add on to this if you want, but at some point she also she speaks grow. And so these things grow, which also that sapling that Aranessa had planted, it grows. Now we have this full tree.
I think that was
And
a part of her like the terrain spell that like made it harder for things to get closer to them. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
what it was Aranessa told Taisha, speak to them, ask them where's the least of them, asking like referring to where's the
Yes.
least of the dead, where it on this plane can we go to that's close by, and that's when she speak with plants to be able to like ask where are the least of them, where can we go to be safe basically, and they tell them where a safe place is, which um
Which then after that all happens, um uh there's so much.
oh yeah.
Aranessa finally casts Tree Stride. One of the one of my favorites. I think it's such a cool thing. I wish it was a real thing. And after saying some words, she just books it. She kicks off her heels, even. She throws her
Just
heels behind
dead run,
and books it to the tree.
which I think made for
Such
one
a,
of the funnier moments of the session where it was just like, wait, what about the elf? And she looks back and is just like, well, nice knowing you, see ya.
oh yeah, yeah. She's just like, it was really good. I really thought you were very kind in the short time that I knew you. And then kicks off her heels and just bolts. Like, oh, cool.
Cool, we know where
um,
Aranessa sits. Strong enough to get us
so
away from here, but not strong enough to help further.
right.
Which is
So at
understandable.
that point, everyone else is like they're slowly starting to be like, all right, we're booking it to that bridge, because the trees past the bridge is the threshold. After the bridge, they can't reach you, so they all book it past the bridge. And you know what? Now that I'm saying this out loud, Aranessa did she cast Tree Stride? She readied Tree Stride, right?
No, she
Because if
casted
she
Tree
cast,
Stride.
did she?
Yeah.
But what about everyone else that was still making their way towards the
So
bridge?
it
And then
was
even
so what it was she kept calling for for Julian. Well, Julian comes upstairs, and that's whenever she casted haste on him. She came closer and she yelled for everyone, "Come on!" And that's when um, Taisha picks up Octus's body and runs towards her, and they all tree stride out. Bayless is still in like the kind of main ballroom area
oh,
of the
okay.
Palazzo Divinos. So she's just right there, and they're like, Bayless, run. Well, Julian is like, I'm not leaving things, and goes back in
Right.
and goes towards everything to one, help Valus, help his father in some kind of way esque type like that's kind of
Oh yeah.
the sentiment that was there. Obviously there was no one to help there, but that's who
Yeah.
he was wanting to go help him.
So the rest of them
um
tree stride past the bridge so they're out of the threshold.
mhm.
And then Julian stays behind
Well, I think they
And
tree strided to a tree that was right before the bridge, and then booked it past the bridge. So I mean,
yeah,
just semantics, but
right. um, so Julian is, I think at this point, even Matt as a player playing his character, I think he was wanting to go for this cool solo moment because I don't feel like he was ready for Valus to be like, no, I'm staying with you, because that's what happens. He looks at Valus and is like, go protect them, keep them safe, and Valus is like, I'm not leaving you, and then just immediately whips out her sensor and starts attacking. And typical battle, there's not a lot to talk about there. They
yeah, I
kind of
mean,
whoop
just
ass,
kind of hit back and
and then
forth.
yeah, I mean it's kind of just like if you listen to it or watch this episode of episode 4, I mean it's kind of neat because like it really shows like wow, they are actually really two badass characters. That like if they
Oh
were
yeah.
are just a duo from now on, things are going to
Which I
happen.
think I think it's going. I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, but I think it's going to end up being Valus, uh, Julian, Taisha, and Octus together, and then
Right,
obviously our other four. Which
right,
in
right, right,
in
right.
our first predictions, I wasn't even thinking about like we probably do need someone that can actually do some like mild hand-to-hand combat or like close-up combat, because if like how I had it laid out before, there was not many close-up combat people in the other two parties. I kind of put them all in the soldiers, which I mean was my mistake on that one. But it makes
So
sense
as
for
they're
Azune to
fighting,
stay back and
yeah.
all that.
Oh yeah. And which we'll hopefully we'll find out more about Azune here later on, since we only have about 20 minutes of him.
And like 18
So
of it was him talking about names.
which I think there's going to be a huge build up there. I really hope so.
I really
But
hope so. I think there's going to be something
as
cool.
as Julian is staying behind, with Valus refusing to leave, I love how it almost turns into like this turn for turn combat with Final Fantasy, which also brings me back to the fact that I know Matt Mercer really wanted to voice Sephiroth in the Final Fantasy VII remake, and for whatever reason they didn't pick him. But eventually he got Vincent Valentine. But there's this thing into me that thinks like maybe Julian is kind of a way for um, Matt Mercer to still kind of have a Sephiroth. Maybe
Right,
I'm
his own
way out,
version.
and who knows? But it makes me kind of happy to just have that really nerdy feeling in me. But anyway, after they do this turn for turn combat thing, it comes to a point where Valus gets real serious and is saying, I am going to stay with you. I'm not going to leave you. I will fight by your side. If you don't leave, I'm going to be here, but
You
this
leave, I
will
leave.
not make you feel better. This will not make you feel better. And with those words, there's definitely some thought. And uh, Julian, he acquiesces, looks at his father, has that another moment, and reaches down and thinks, maybe I can take the gauntlet. So he does. He takes the gauntlet. As the Lazo Divinos grows dark with screams of the undead. And then they move on and pass the bridge.
Safety.
And that sequence is done. They have escaped.
Yep. Um, which honestly, the only thing I have left to say here is that I think that this second gauntlet that he's gonna have, I don't know if it's fully aesthetic thinking with this, but I think it could be that like maybe this is a paired uh um, magical item. Because I do, again, like I said last episode, I think that each character has some sort of magical item, just like a lot of level 3 campaigns start out with, is you get one minor magical item, and typically it's combat related, with some it's not. I think with some of our like Bolaire and Murray people, I think it's not, but with him, I think it is. I think it's these gauntlets. I think it's going to be something to do with them. I think it may up his AC some extra, maybe up his dexterity because he uses a rapier. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm excited.
I'm excited to see where that goes. Yeah, do you have anything to say about the Palazzo Divino's combat before we move on to the next section here?
I do not. Everything else is going to be in the next section.
In this section, we're brought to Hal's house again, where he is having a meeting with Murray, and I believe Azune. Yeah, Azune is present for this. Though I do believe Hal and Murray go off into private. I believe Azune could have been present for this entire conversation. It's very ambiguous on who is fully present for this because they have all 4 members at the table at the time.
From some other things that they say, it or for what Azune says, it sounds like Azune pretty much this, at least this kind of interaction and this whole thing that's going on, Azune has not left Hal's side
Murray's side,
once.
yeah.
Or well, Hal's side, right?
No, because remember, back in one of the episodes, Azune went off on his rounds to like check out the rookery to make sure, or not the rookery, but over in the fray where the Crow's Keep's bar is at, and he was doing his rounds, and then he went off to go talk to Murray because he knew the Pentevrel was going to be looked at next by the houses of the Sundered houses. And so then he's been following Murray around trying to find Octus. But they, instead of going for Octus, they went to Hal's house, which is where we're at now, is all 3 of them. I believe all 3 of them at Hal's house.
Okay, well then I have another question then. Is at one point, and I'm jumping ahead here, but at one point, Azune looks at Hal, or maybe it's, oh man, maybe I'm jumbled. Is it Murray or Hal at one point, with a certain interaction with Bolaire, one of them looks at Azune and says something along the lines of like, just be at your ready.
That was Hal to Azune, but that was after Murray had caught up to, like, Murray and Azune had like right now, like that starts now.
Okay.
Because Murray comes to Hal's house with Azune, wanting to talk to him. Hal has this letter from Thimble that's marked Bolaire.
Marked Bolaire, yeah.
But is meant to be given to Murray. And
cool.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. And whenever Murray opens up this letter and reads it, basically finds out he's not like Murray, or not Murray, but Bolaire and Thiazi were not exactly friends. They were not exactly partners. They were
a mechanic and his wrench.
Blackmailing.
Blacksmith and his hammer.
Yeah, and it kind of spoken euphemisms a lot, saying like that if you took off his mask, you'd surely have him in hand, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, he should be in that museum, not curating it.
Yeah, this letter kind of made me feel like Thiazi's a piece of shit. Like, we're seeing the real side of Thiazi that, like, not the good side of Thiazi, that's for sure.
It kind of sounded like he was willing to do anything And sometimes you can say, "I'll do anything to protect my family," but this was to a different degree. I think he was willing to do anything,
Anything.
which is why we had some why we might have some really dark connections to Thiazi that we don't even know of yet. We're only
Oh yeah.
just getting a glimpse of it.
Starting to bubble to the surface. I love it. Yeah. But yeah, so then wait, no. Because Azune's at the Falconer's Rest. Zune's at the Falconer's Rest seeing off the soldiers going north, and he then comes back to uh Hal's house afterwards. And that's what happened. And was just so happened met with Hal and Murray at the same time. So the whole interaction of Hal and Murray talking about the letter about Belair from Thiazi, that was them two alone. And then Azune joins in after, and they decide to go confront Belair to get
Oh,
some answers.
yes, you're right. Okay,
And
because
basically he was saying like, come along, that's where we're heading, we're gonna go see Octus. But actually they went to see Bolaire first to get some
yes, because
answers.
Murray comes
Sorry.
in and she's just Azune is coming back to the Falcon's Rest, and before he even gets inside, Murray bursts open the door and is just like, "Oh, hey, Azune, we're heading out. Come on, let's go." Because she
Yep.
has her portman. You know what I'm talking about?
Porter.
Her,
Yeah, it's
her
her
portent.
wizard
Her portent.
portent rolls. That's what you're talking about. Yeah, her
Yeah,
portent rolls.
she has a portent. So, which we have not talked about at all, but hey, we don't need to because it's going to be really cool later. So she's
Yeah.
very excited. She already knows something that she shouldn't know, but she doesn't even really know what it is at the moment. But she knows something that she shouldn't know. It's impossible, and so I'm assuming just elated. So she busts open that door right as she sees Azune. She's like, "Oh, hey, cool, perfect timing. Come with me. We're going. I know what has to be done." And then
Yep.
and Azune is being the very like kind of tallest character that he is. He is just like, okay,
Okay, let's go. Let's do it. So they
yep.
go on to the museum, the Arcanaud, and as soon as they get there, we get to see Murray and Bolaire are probably gonna be my two favorite characters. Because Murray brings out this string and is talking like, Bolaire, come on, hey, get down here, we need your help. We need help right now. And she's doing a message spell, but like really like role playing what her message spell is, and it's like she's like pulled the threads of magic itself, and are being able to project her like voice's wavelengths through magic to Bolaire, and Bolaire just happens to hear like Murray Magnuson
Yep.
at the is needing me,
At
and
the
he's like,
Penteral?
he comes in, and he comes down like, what do you need, assholes? Come on, get inside, let's go. And then sees Hal and is like, why is Hal with Murray? What is going on? Because later we find out Bolaire, or well, we actually found out before, Bolaire and Murray compete with each other a lot for arcane things. So the fact he knows the reason Thiazi and Murray know each other are because of this same thing. Why is Hal with her coming to talk to me? This is serious. That's whenever you see the change in Talison's face, is whenever like he notices Hal's here too. Fuck.
Yeah. And as Murray would say, things are going tits up.
Yeah. And so then Murray kind of confronts him with this information. He's like, okay, well, I need to make you guys trust me. So I'm going to show you some stuff and tell you some information that no one knows. So let's go somewhere private. And he takes him down into the deep archives and then goes down into his personal archives, which is like a hidden little like bat cave sanctum sanctorum little area.
Yeah, and that's where
And
Hal is just like, "You've been holding out on me,"
yeah, and he's like, I'm holding
Blair is
out
just
on
like, "I've been
everyone.
holding out on everyone." Yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, they're talking about, like, he's trying to bring him down and explain to them what he is, who he is, and like everything that he holds down here. And basically Bolaire starts going into what he is. That and he beats around the bush a lot, giving a lot of like
he's
platitudes and stuff and
he
half
he
truths,
says
and
that he's half truths.
he's more used to half truths. That's what makes him feel comfortable, because he's not, like, I mean, I think that's because he's half made so far. Like, he's been created, but there was no actual like person put behind it. It was just, I'm a living item.
Yeah, and he's always
And
had to hide who he is
yeah, and had to like in
or
that
what he
also
is.
had to, yeah, hide what he is. And then also with that, he was always used, and that's why he had to hide, is that if people knew what he was, they would always use him for their means. And we actually find out that he was like, we kind of go through all of, like, the orcs, they made the pariah blades to kill their god. The elves made the last arrow to kill their god. And Hal's not too sure what the halflings used to kill their god. And we find out that the halflings created these masks that were made to kill the halfling trickster god.
And there
And
were like 5 masks in total.
I don't remember him saying a specific number. He just said that there were others, and that they've none of them
Mhm.
have been found. That he's the only one that he knows of that is like out and about. Because he didn't know that Hal and Taisha saw that mask in the box. He doesn't know of that.
Oh
Um,
yes, and this is the only time that we actually, as the audience, find out what happened with
yep.
Abras.
Yes. Yes. And then we come down, and as they're starting to try and like pry more into the history of Bolaire and the masks and all this, he uh starts to hear someone calling for, like, he hears someone coming into the archives upstairs, and he's like, give me a second, I need to go. And he starts talking to these people upstairs, and they're um people
Very
from,
inquisitive.
yeah, very inquisitive characters. One of them being one of the basically people that pay for the
Benefactor.
museum. Yeah, one of the benefactors, and the benefactor is bringing one of the Sundered House's royalty. I forget their name. Where Lady Aram
Pomeroy?
Maria Cormorey. Cormorey. Yes, this is one of the houses that we saw from the Torn Banner War cold open, where the Cormorey sorcerer was summoning a drake from with a spell, and Thimble interrupted the casting, breaking concentration.
Which
Um,
I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I have a question about Lady Amara. Amar, what's her name?
Amaria, yeah,
Amaria Cormorey. I have a
yeah.
question, and I think I'm jumping slightly a bit ahead, but I think this just goes what you're getting into. Is he's trying to get them out of there because he
Yeah.
has, kind of basically the same thing as vigilantes in his very secret area that no one should know about, and he's really trying to hold all of this back. And he's just like,
I need
we
to
can do
get you
this
out.
another time.
Yeah,
And
I have
and
dangerous
she's
things
just like, well,
downstairs. I
you know
need you
what?
out.
I could be the butterfly on the wall and just kind of watch. And he's just like, ah. And then he casts.
No, he tries to cast suggestion, but it doesn't. He's not able to hide it. But right about that time, he notices, oh, look out there. Palazzo Davino's is blacked out. And he like literally says, I need to go. I have to like I can't entertain you any longer. I have to go. And literally says goodbye to them and turns around and rushes downstairs and is like, hey, we've got an issue. We gotta go. And
They're like, well,
like
don't we already have an issue?
yeah, it's like, isn't there already an issue? And it's like, no, bigger problems have just arose. We gotta go. And they start rushing up. They all see that Plaza Divinos is blacked out, like the Empire State Building being blacked out in the New York skyline. Like it is noticeable that this is not lit up right now.
Like all at once. This wasn't a
Yeah,
gradual thing. This was a death.
like a whoop, just everything just shut off. So then they rush down to the Palazzo Divinos. At first they don't go very far into it, but I believe it was Murray and Azune, or maybe it was Belair and Murray walked right in, saw the wax puddle, and started investigating it. They started going back and forth whether they should try and mend it or not, but they finally ended up deciding let's mend it. And whenever he casted this, he actually there's a very cool little moment where Hal also rolled a perception check because he just wanted to listen to the noises around him. And when he did, and Azune casted mending, he didn't know the words that were spoken, but he understood that what the spell meant was remember, not mend, but remember. And that it did. The things around him started to remember where they truly lied, and the candle reformed into the candle it once was. And Hal started to hear the footsteps of a fox, that being pincushion, dashing down the hall and leading toward down, out away from the Palazzo Divinos. And he was like, "We gotta go, go, follow," saying like, "Hey, I know where we need to
A
go.
fox just ran by us.
Yeah, I know where our friends are." Basically, they start following Pincushion's like ethereal form, and he starts to notice where they're going. That they're heading over to the Alloy Wing, or the Alloy Wing. No, that's at the museum. They end up at the Alloy Estate, the where Taisha's family lives. And this is where they find like Belair, or not Belair, but Hal was talking to people at the estate because he's obviously, this is baby's mama's family. He knows people here and was talking to people there. Ended up finding out that where they were and got kind of pushed that way, where they find that Taisha's holding Octus, and Taisha has been constantly pushing every spell slot that she could in healing word through his body, and basically she's effectively mended his body, but hasn't like saved him. And I don't know when it happened, but I think it was before because I think what you described of him pulling the Stone of Night song out, I think that happens now, and he pulls it out, and that's whenever he comes awake.
And
Or
even
no,
before,
or was it, no, it was Murray and Belair. That's what it was. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here.
well, I will say this.
But go ahead and say what you're gonna say there.
While he's still kind of in this astral wooded plane, that it seems like either because when his soul was torn apart and split, either it went like that and he found himself, or it went like this and he found himself. That's what I'm curious on. But it did say that the only remaining part of his soul was the hand holding the Nightstone. It didn't say the rest of him. It said the hand holding the Nightstone was the rest of his soul, the only remaining part of it.
I didn't hear that part. I may need to re-listen to that, but I didn't hear that part that it was just his hand holding that. I just know that he like all he saw left was like all around him that was left was him holding the Stone of Night song. But
Yeah,
I
it
that
said
could
the
have been just a
remaining part of his
misinterpret.
soul. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
we'll see
who
what
knows?
that means.
We'll find
But
out.
um that could just be that because he's a revenant, this is the remainder of his soul. He gave up the rest of his soul to be here essentially. Um
Because now he's
but
effectively hollow.
yeah, but this is where we come to Murray's portent role of they're needing to find a way to save Octus because Octus had not come back yet, and um, Murray steps up and gets her mage hand out, and Bolaire manifests the glass scalpel, and um, they start to work on him. And when this goes, Hal casts or gives bardic inspiration, and Taisha gives guidance as well. Um, and she uses her nat 20 portent roll that she rolled at the beginning of the day so that she could then perfectly open up his chest, draw out the Stone of Night song, and be able to basically save Octus from his what would have been his fate.
Yeah.
And right as this happens, as the stone leaves his chest and they see the Stone of Night song in front of them now, the blood dripping off of it, the we see Octus come up, and as Octus comes conscious again, we see the blood drip down like a ribbon, forming like the sutures in his chest, sewing him up and healing him back together. Um,
And just to give
and
the audience um, a scale of how important this was, is it was a difficulty of 30 to do this, which is
yeah,
how important the portent is.
yeah, because literally, I think which the nat 20 obviously gives a automatic success. I mean, sometimes it doesn't, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, if you have a cool DM, a good DM, in my opinion, nat 20 means success, unless it is just a, like, what's the point of rolling? What's the point of rolling a d20 if it's impossible? If it's
Yeah, it's
impossible,
just like,
tell
I'm going
me,
to go
you know?
punch this mountain to try to break it
Yeah.
apart. I rolled a nat 20. It's like, okay, you managed to crush one of the rocks near it. You're not
Yeah, so
breaking
it's
the
like,
mountain.
yeah, yeah. So it's like, why make me roll if it's even gonna work? So then, like, I
Mhm.
think that's where he lies as well, is that he likes. If I'm gonna have you roll a d20, then at some degree, what you are wanting to do is possible. If it's impossible, you're not even gonna roll a d20, like at all. Um, so that's that, or like, and that same thing goes for, like, if it's just inherently a physical possibility, like you can 100% do that. I'm not going to make you roll a d20 too. I think that's as fair to say that he's been doing across this as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we see him come back to life, or he wakes up dead. I'll quote Vernon Lee Mulligan there. Octus,
Yeah.
you wake up dead. So, um, we'll see what happens with that. But I think we're gonna have to find. They're gonna be a part of this story arc is going to be figuring out how to save Octus from dying whenever they kill off his family. That's what's going to end up happening. They're going to kill off his family members that tried to kill him. And
And I'm
then
really interested in Valus because Valus has spent, I don't know how much time, but she's traveled across the entire world to find the Stone of Night Song.
and
And
now
here
it's
it
here.
is. And it's hers for the taking if she wants it. And she knows this. But she sees the youngest, possibly weakest of this group is somehow intertwined with something going on with the Stone of Night Song and has literally done something that should have been impossible. He has risen from the dead, but not like undead, just dead, not alive, yet still breathing, still kicking. And her thoughts were she could just take it and run and go back to her temple or whatever. And
Then she'd be
she
back to
thinks
a life
about
of sadness, sorrow, grieving, and
sorrow
prayer.
and praying to a god that she will never
Can't
even
listen.
hear the voice of. It's like,
Damn.
so I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love that that's how he worded it. So then she's like almost obligated to be like, nah, I'm staying. Like, I don't want to
Right.
go back to that sadness. I'm gonna stay here with these guys and maybe find some answers of how to bring back my god so then I can maybe talk to her again.
Plus, we also know that Valus is over 800 years old. Like
Is
the
she over
Shaper's War
800
was,
years old? That's something I didn't look into, how exactly how old she is.
yeah, she's over 800 years old. The Shaper's War was 70 to 80 years ago. She's 8 times that. Like, who knows what she's seen? Who knows how long she's been doing this? And maybe that was misspoken by whoever said it. I think it was Brennan,
Nope,
so I'm going
nope.
to take it
I'm
as
looking at
fact.
it right here. 800 plus. You're
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Yeah. She's
That
she's
was just something I didn't
extremely
see.
old.
Yeah,
It also
basically as
makes me
old as
wonder
Tang.
because she took like 46 points of damage. I think 47, something like that, and was just like, he earlier
But I
he
think
asked
it
her
was
like,
also
how
halved.
well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, he's just like, how are you doing? Like everyone else is just like, I'm dying, and she's like, how are you doing? Oh, great. And then later on, it's just like, you've taken like 46 points of damage. How you doing? It's like, I'm okay. So is she even the same level as everyone else? Like, what level is she at? 800 years old. I'm just wondering.
Which, I mean, that's the thing, is like 800 years old, and if you start your adventuring today, you're still level 1.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like she has started her adventuring
From
with
what
them.
I'm
It
looking
sounds like
at
she's
right
started it.
from what I'm looking at right here, she is level 3 and has 31 hit points. But she
Find
also, there
out.
is healing stuff, but I mean, I don't think she took as much damage as we think she did.
That was just what I think maybe Taisha said. Well, I guess probably above the table, Bria is just like, hey, you would hit like 47 times. And she's probably just being exaggerative, and I probably took it way too literally.
Which, I mean, I want to say she took around like 20 something damage during all of that. Like, she was not well off. I think a part of her character is that
She's
she
confident.
doesn't, she's one confident, but she doesn't let people know whenever she's in trouble.
Right.
She
Comes
doesn't
with being
rely on
800
others
plus
to
years
a
old.
degree. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's basically where we ended off, was him coming back to life and having kind of the realization that he's not fully alive, but he's not fully dead.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of
And now we
covered my
finally have a
theory.
revenant.
Right, we have a revenant. Um, covered my theory. We talked about Bolaire quite a bit there. Um, do you have anything else that you're needing to touch on this episode here?
Um, I'm trying to think. The only thing, and it kind of doesn't really matter right now, and it's also really founded on not too much. This is a loose theory, but I'm just like, I'll just give it some thought because who knows, you know? Because Brennan is all of us are all of them, all of us. We're a bunch of big nerds. And if any of you are Star Trek nerds, think of the Borg. If the Borg Queen dies, the Borg go feral, at least in the Star Trek that I know. And so when the gods died, did the Celestials go feral? Did they go insane? Was it instantly when the connection was lost, or was it something that happened over time? Or, like Stubby is saying, was this history rewritten and they're not the monsters that we think they are now, but that's who we're given to perceive because of the people in control? Um, it's hardly a theory, but it's more of a food for thought. But wanted to throw that out there before we end.
Yeah, yeah. And then also before we end, just kind of general announcements. This episode came out kind of late, partially because we're humans and we have busy lives, but also, uh, once we knew that there was going to be a break week between episode 4 and episode 5, we wanted to, and on top of that, this episode was 5 hours long. We wanted to give viewers time to process this, and then we could release ours a little bit later, so then you guys could then
It
watch
gave
us.
it gave us more time to prepare too, specifically me. Um, if this was yesterday, I wouldn't have been as knowledgeable about this episode as I am right now. So it was kind of a silver lining, a double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, we're a little bit late, but I think the content is a little bit nicer. We were more prepared, and I think this is and because of the preparedness, it's also a little bit more digestible. You can take this. You don't have to watch it all in one sitting. You can take it in parts. I think we made it more
Exactly.
digestible as well.
Exactly. Made it a little bit shorter. Rather than 5 hours, this one's 2 hours, which, dependent on whatever the next few episodes are going to be, will depend on how long our episodes are. It's all going to be information based. If we're getting a lot of information in an episode, it's going to be a longer episode for us. But if it's a tidy 3 to 4 hour episode, ours is probably going to be shorter. Uh, but we are going to try and stick to our Monday schedule as best as we possibly can, within
What
means.
one thing I want to say is a 2 hour battle sequence. Um,
Yeah, that was
I was kind of
crazy.
I was kind of tasked with like me and Stubby. We're both we're both like listening, watching, re-listening, re-watching, and all of this. So we know what we need to talk about. We know what's going on. But I was tasked with the battle sequence. And, so we got 2 hours of that. And as I'm going through it, it's playing, and something happens, and I take a note, and then something else happens, and I take a note. And after a while, I was like, all right, this 2 hours has turned into 8 hours. There was a lot that happened in a battle sequence. And like, I'm here for it, but there's a bit of work. Pat
Oh
me
yeah.
on the back, please.
So yeah, with that, we're trying to do our best to get it out in a timely fashion. Um, but if we're late, just know we're putting in the extra work for you guys to make sure that we're getting every last detail we possibly can, because we do really want this to be a way for people that typically wouldn't have gotten into Critical Role to be able to participate with Critical Role. And so just kind of help us grow that community, help us grow our little recovery group. Um,
Yeah,
that it'll help with if you like, comment, and subscribe. So
yeah.
always do that for us. But I
So
think that's going to be all of us today. So
yeah. So until next time, keep your rolls high, your hearts full, and remember to keep talking that crit.
see you guys. Have a great one.